Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new Adobe Live session, and happy Tuesday. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Raissa Pardini, who joined us some time ago on the stream, and we were so excited to have her back. Hi, Raissa. How are you doing today?
Hello, thanks for having me again. Yes, it was last year, and a lot of things seem to have changed. So thanks for having me again. I'm excited to talk to you today. I noticed a new intro with all the new design, and I was very excited.
Adobe Live spirit. I want to say hi also to our community live on the chat today: Angus, Andrea, Sandrine, Karina, Jackie, and more in there. And it's quite a busy chat today. So if you are not in the chat, you could join us so we can answer your questions and, I don't know, say hello to you and kick off some conversations. So do join us on behance.net/Adobe Live if you are still on YouTube. And then you can join the chat community and we can, have fun and engage together. Just a quick intro about Raissa. Raissa is a multidisciplinary designer, type artist, and art director based in London. Raissa has been working and still working in the music industry and the design industry. Like, what an amazing mix, right? And I can't wait to know more about what you've been up to, Raissa, today. So yeah, let's get this started. The floor is yours, Raissa.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm going to make a quick intro as well, just so we can then crack on InDesign today. InDesign is the program that I use the most, but I'm going to use some tools that then can be also used on Illustrator. So we'll make something that suits the both, so you can pick and choose whichever works better for you. So yeah, I am Raissa. Let me just my name is Raissa Pardini, and as Nathalie said, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, meaning that I put my hands in a lot of different skills, from type to animation, 3D, video, but mostly printing, branding, and all things design. I'm from Italy, a very small town in Tuscany. I left Italy a while back and I moved to Milan, Berlin, London, and Glasgow, and I'm back in full spring in London. I worked with clients like MTV, Apple Music, with Transfer, Vivo, the Standard Hotel, and with artists like Willie Nelson, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Maneskin, Nathalie Cohen, and so on. I work mainly on type, but my practice is a box full of things. Let me just put down the PDF, some of the stuff that I've done recently. I'm a very curious person, and I really need to feed that curiosity in order to feel excited about my work. So I always say yes to every unique project that come my way, even if my skills aren't fitting 100% the brief at the start of the project, and then I will push myself to learn new tricks this way. That works well for me. As Nathalie said at the start, we're going to talk about how to make a music cover. So I wanted to show first what you could do with music, and how many things and many assets are in music. It's so great to see there's so many designers right now finally combining a passion with the skills that they have. I remember when I started 10 years ago, it was more difficult to be so niche. And I think that, the digital community, the platforms that we have to talk, bring artists from a corner of the world to work with another artist in another corner. So it seems that we are more flexible. We can finally work on a lot of different projects that we love and we have passion about.
I agree with you on this one. I mean, the world is opening up, and the possibilities of just mixing creative fields together is just fascinating. And I'm loving, and I'm sure everyone is loving we did get a comment in the chat. We're all loving the covers you have here, like so many colors, so much
Thank you.
type treatment. And I'm seeing here Justin Bieber. Is that
yeah
I
it's a new one.
Yes. Sorry, but I am a Justin Bieber fan, so I couldn't stop myself from saying that. So
Oh no, for sure, it was a shock for me as well. You know, it's fascinating how you can start, and you know, this is a form of encouragement for the new designer out there. You can start working from the independent, and you can quickly be recognized by working hard, and finally be picked by other artists that are bigger, and they help you helping growing your community around you. So you know, starting from the independent is always a good thing, and it gives you a lot of space to be creative. So that's why I don't let the independent go. I try to work with both, because I can find in the independent a lot of creativity, freedom, and on the more corporate and branded one, you know, it's not that I can't do what I want. It's more like a listening process. So a trust between the client and me to both bring ideas in and listen to each other. So it's a different treatment, but it's still working. So we have some posters here. Just to say, obviously music has a big background with posters. That's one of the things that probably we missed the most last year, without gigs, without events to go to. A lot of people that were specialized in posters reinvent themselves doing other treatments for artists. But yeah, posters is really great. Like, it's got a lot of different elements that you can combine, like you say, colors, type, sometimes pictures, sometimes animations, sometimes illustrations. So I just put a selection of the things that I do just for an intro. And then these are some of the covers that I've done this couple of years, because today we're going to mostly talk about how to make a music cover, which is probably the most difficult thing to achieve in music, because it's obviously the face of a recording session and a whole period of time where the band lock themselves in to work so hard on something, and they come to you and they ask you to make their music tangible. So it's something that I don't ever take for granted, and I love doing, but it's a big responsibility. Design is the first thing you see when you buy a record, so it's important to have a conversation with the band and keep a lot of things in mind. So in this selection that I put together is a small selection of what I do, but you know, you can start noticing that there are covers that are more typographic, type driven, others that are a combination of composition, graphical elements, type, colors, illustrations, and so on. Some others are including some pictures. So there's many different ways to start researching on what is best to do for a band. I'm going to talk about the way that we do typography and we treat the layout when we have a picture, because it seems to be the thing right now. You know, having a picture of a band is always great because it shows the band to the world, and there's also, I love when different assets and different skills crossing each other, right? So we got great photographers working with good designers, with good, you know, it's just great. It brings together a vision in full. So these two are two of the ones that I was talking about. You know, you can see the picture, but there's a whole different word behind it. So there's a lot of type treatment inside the record, outside the record, on the sleeve. Typography that then is going to be extracted and be put on a poster and be put on a billboard, and maybe it will be put on merchandising. So yes, I've got a couple of key things that we're going to talk about on what is important to keep in mind first, and then we're going to go on InDesign. So what's important to keep in mind? Talking to band is the first step. It's their music, it's their vision. We need to find a way to create that vision and make it tangible. It's quite a task because artists, like I said, spend a lot of time recording, creating music. Don't take it for granted. It will be silly to. You have the responsibility to try and do your best work you could do for them. And in order to make that, you want to make yourself happy as well and proud of your work. So it's a giving and taking. Another thing to keep in mind is that our works might be used for different assets, so merchandising, other releases, posters, campaign, trying to make these assets flexible and keeping in mind that maybe some of the design will be used for something else. Use some mock-ups quickly if you need to. That would be really good to just test if the design really strikes, and catch your attention in many different ways. Another things to keep in mind that a lot of people don't talk about is in the music industry, it seems that they're always rushing through the timeline. I'm still not sure why, but it seems always being very hectic. So people need assets.
More hectic than any design job. That's
I mean, it's hectic on everything, but I feel that music and design are quite separated sometimes. If someone only works in the music industry, maybe doesn't have the understanding of how long design assets can take and how much researching is important. And it's no one's fault, the more you work with designers, the more you're gonna know that we need a little bit more time. So each time they give me more time. But what I do, my little top tip for this is trying to keep your curiosity fed every day by doing something, even small, every day, to research, to find new ways of working, find new fonts, flick through books, take pictures on the street. So keep your mind in a state of constant researching because it's fun. And at the same time, it's almost preparing you to work very quickly through very tight deadlines. So you're prepared for it. That way you always have daily inspo coming your way and you feel like you're starting fresh. So you have a few assets ready to go. So research is very, very inspiring. It's the most inspiring thing for me. So remember, while the community thrives, when people inspiring each other, try to be respectful for other artists' work, get inspired, but make those inspirations yours so you can reinvent them every time.
And I agree. Like, I think I can agree with, how it is pretty challenging because in the end, the way we listen to music, we perceive it in a different way, right? Or than the artists or who worked on it. So I completely agree. Like I can imagine the whole research you have to do, and for instance, that's where my question comes. So let's say you got a brief about a band or an artist that you never have heard of in your life. What would be like the first step for you in order to start with the design, like the first step of the research per se?
Yeah, so conversation is always the best thing. You check with them first. You ask them to send you something that they feel that somehow that visual is speaking to them. Sometimes there's no reason for it, so I don't put stress to bands to give me details or give me an explanation why they pick something. Sometimes you just appeal to something because of no reasons, but that's good enough for me. So I'm trying to like ask them if they have anything in mind, if they've been seeing something that appeal to them. If they didn't do that treatment yet, I ask them to have their phone with them, start taking pictures around, give them some time. Some other times Ben really want you to do your thing, so it's also it's challenging, but it's also a different way to work. So in that case, I will make the research and I will show them first. So it's important that before we start working, there's a mood board or an inspiration board or just a brief that is shared either from the band or the designer or both. When we both do it, is always the smoother way to start working, obviously, because we understand we are already on the same page. But that, yes, they need to see something visual, and I need to see something visual at first to know which direction to take. So that's definitely the first step. In fact, I put in this presentation, the way that we researched at first was trying to get other things, other compositions, other artworks that were already made from what the band told me they were into. So I put a lot of like 70s type treatment from the past and from other contemporary brands like this Brainwash or the Markets is a new band. So try to combine something old and new, show them if that's the right direction to go to. And then what I do usually with type, if there's time, is starting drafting things on tracing paper. So like you see from this inspiration board comes then some sketches that I've got here on the side. So some movement or maybe some 70s, just swinging things. I prepared some books here as well that I've been looking at. There's like this football disco covers. So there are like all of in the past in football, they used to release a lot of records. So these are all the 7-inch that and all the designs of the football teams. And a top tip for people that want to invest on books but don't have a big budget, this is in German and I don't understand much of German, but because it was sold in an English market, it was half price. As much as this, I've got this Pet Shop Boys catalogue with all the branding and everything they've ever done for records and I'm going to show you, and videos and the stills. So having things like this in your archive is so important. This was like a $5 because it's in German and no one can understand it.
Yeah, it's proof that you can get inspiration from everywhere, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I love how you mix analog, right, before you jump into digital right away. Like, you work on the type yourself, on tracing paper, and you still get like analog and inspiration books. I feel like this is something that we should include more in our creative process before we start right away in the design, because it would probably resolve so many doubts and it will help you kind of like explore more ways before the final process.
Totally. Yeah, having books is always almost making your experience unique to anything else, because we are not looking at the same thing online. So taking pictures on the street is your own picture. Like it's your own vision that you see and you get inspired from. So whenever you are, I'm not against the all online inspiration. I find it very, very great. But a combination of the two can be quite healthy and quite equal whenever it comes to inspirations. So, and there are ways to buy secondhand books. We need to only look at the images if we are creative. So, you know, go for the bashed cover that is very used and someone sell it for a couple of pounds, because then what you're looking is at the insides, right? So yeah, so this is the way that I treated the Mamma Mia font for Maneskin. I wanted to include this because it's a combination of photos and type, so we can try to see how to make a type quickly on InDesign or on Illustrator. When I was saying that it's important to keep in mind that this treatment will be then taken into different assets, is exactly this. So it isn't just a font, but it becomes something that is printed on patches, on inner sleeves, or, you know, belts. I've got actually like, I've got the t-shirts here.
Oh.
And the belt came in this cute little box, and you open the box, you got the belt. I mean, I never thought I could make a belt as a piece of merchandising. So there's the belt, but then the stickers, patches, you know, badges. So it's also important that you can wear them and you can read what it says. Unless, you know, we got a vision that wants to go against that. So there's nothing bad about it. It's just a visual decision.
Of course, for instance, but I know that, you know, how we always get excited about merch as designers. So what, in this case, what came first, the merch idea or the type idea?
I think it depends on, which project was the first one to be given to you. If you do a type that really, really works on a record, it's very likely that it will be put on merchandising. So that's what I mean. It's a missed opportunity to not trying to make something that looks good on everything. So even if the band says we only need the release design, try to also give them mock-ups. You know, if Mamma Mia looked really good on a t-shirt, it takes 1 second to put on a mock-up, put it on a presentation to the bank, because maybe they didn't think about it, you know. So you can do something else together. So, and then every time that you add a project, you know, it will be financially helping you as well, because it will help you making more work for them and be more involved. So it's all about like trying to create the opportunities around you with something that you've done and you put a lot of love and a lot of time on it. So let me show you. This was the first draft of Mamma Mia on a tracing paper. I mean, it wasn't the first. It was the first that was outlined with you know, a final black pen. But you just go you just go for chances. You just go over and over and over, and you go with pencil quite a lot. And then this is how then you know, if you see the skeleton of the digital type, and then the digital type will be very clean. And then that's it. This is the colored one that we done at the end. Mind that some people really like the analog side of things. So you don't have to always be so clean. You can go on Photoshop, quickly clean it, and make, you know, put some texture and patterns and colors on Photoshop. But today we are just going to talk about like a different type of treatment. So we can go to InDesign now, just so we can see how I started to do this. I'm gonna go on InDesign. So I make a new. Okay. So we're gonna make a document first, and a couple of things about the first few steps. first thing to keep in mind is the release to be digital or will it be printed? RGB uses white combination of all primary colors and black as an absence of light. So it will be different to CMYK, which we use for printing. Sometimes it's quite upsetting to know that we worked on RGB and you have to go into CMYK because we picked, I know, we pick really great colors and then we have to change them into something that we are not happy with. So if we start from the beginning, knowing which formats we need to do, then it won't be upsetting. At least it might be challenging, but yeah, at least it's not upsetting. So that's the first thing to do. I'm gonna just do a digital today just because we are working on a screen. So you can find I'm gonna show you how to do it in a second. You can do web. Every time to do web here, there's already some assets ready to pick from the InDesign setting, or you go on print and the usual ones, A4, A3, letters and all. If you go to web, it's turning it into RGB already. In fact, it gives you pixel instead of centimeter, millimeter. That doesn't mean that you can't work on centimeters if you want to, if you got given a size from the label that is in centimeter. Another thing to keep in mind is try to always make sure that you have the right size of the final artwork. So yeah, asking the label or the band if it's digital or printed, ask them which is the final size so you can work on the final size from the start, because again, you don't want to get into a place that then you made a very small thing and it needs to be enlarged and maybe we don't have enough resolution or all the way around. So be organized at first so you can just work as smoothly as possible, and at this stage you just put all the information you need. Another thing to keep in mind, it doesn't give me here, yeah, it does actually, is mostly when you work on the printing side with CMYK, is looking at the bleeds. So bleeds are trims basically, and the borders of our covers when the printers need to print them. Always ask if the printers will need bleeds. But also, most likely, if you're going to print, I would just put them anyway. So 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters of bleeds all around your cover is enough to cover a little border and to give the chance to the printer to go a little bit off, but while printing, but still look good.
Kind of like a safety space.
Yeah.
For when they cut the print or the design or the album cover, like you don't lose some of the designs that you already worked on. So yeah, I think 3 or 4 is like more than fair. So that's a good tip.
Yeah, exactly. So if you know all of these things, then you're not going to be on the final stages of the work and be like, oh no. Yeah, mostly with photos, the photos stretch and sometimes you make them into the composition. Let's say that I've got my hands going from side to side and my hands outline just finish at the very border of the screen. If we like it that way, then we have to make sure that we dealt with trims, so we are not going to be just upset about the result. So every time you print something, make sure you put the trims anyway, just because you want to be safe. So today we're just going to work on digital, so that doesn't apply to digital. I'm going to work on centimeters just because it's easier. I'm just going to do 15 centimeters by 15. I always put a title from the start so I know where my file is. So we're just going to say Maneskin, Mamma Mia type. Okay. Always name the file. I used to be very lazy at university, and unfortunately I lost a lot of files because they were just like final 3, 4, 5. It's like no, let's name them all. And you know, also make sure that whenever you save as a final, then I'm going to show you something else, and is package the all our works. So there are all the things that you use, all the picture you use are in one folder, and you don't have to have them in the desktop going around your computer, and you don't have to relink them again. So okay, we start this. We don't have to have facing page. Orientation is fine because we already put our sizes. Okay, I'm just gonna create my document now. Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna click this plus, so I've got it as big as possible.
Nice. I got a question for you, Raisa. So
yes,
let's say you're working on an album cover. What's your go-to music while you're working, or you don't listen to music? I mean, do you listen to the same artist? Do you listen to your own playlist? Does that affect the work process?
That's a very good question. So I would have to listen to the artist that I'm working with at one point, either if it's before or while. I always try to do it beforehand, just so I can just get inspired by the music. So usually while I'm researching or I'm drafting away some sketches, I always listen to the artist's music. While I'm working, it depends which mood I am on. Sometimes I don't want to listen to anything because I'm fully concentrated. And I get very distracted by music, being a musician myself. So if I listen to something new that is very exciting, I will just keep thinking about a riff popping out, or the way that they're playing guitar, and I just want to message a friend and say, did you listen to this record? So I'm in another zone. So sometimes I just need to, so sometimes it's good to listen to something that you already know by heart and puts you in a very meditating mood, because you know the songs, you know the music, and you don't get distracted. So now that I'm working from home, I've got a record player here with all the records. I'm trying to do that kind of thing that people do in January, like I am going to listen to a different record every day.
Is that working for you?
Yeah, it's working. I've got my partners. We divided our sections in halves, so I'm trying to listen to his halves. So I am trying to learn new music. So yeah, hopefully it's gonna go on as long as possible, because New Year's resolutions don't last so long. But yeah, so yeah, it's a good question. I feel like everyone's got a different way to work, but definitely listen to the artist's music at one point before starting designing. Even if you don't like it, even if it's not your thing, you know, it doesn't mean that you should not be able to be inspired from it at least once. So we are already in design, and we are on a preview mood. Preview mood can be taken off by just clicking W. So preview mood is how you're going to see the final artwork. When you're not on preview, you can see all of the bits that are coming from the composition. It's a really great tool to know on your shortcut, because you want to quickly see sometimes how a composition look final by just clicking W. So every time I'm going to say a letter as a shortcut, you can just click it on your keyboard and it will appear, unless you obviously work on a text box. So if you click a letter, that letter's going to go onto the box. Make sure that you're out of the text box when you click other letters, because it happened before that sometimes you're like zooming in, so you click the letter Z and you see that Z somewhere in the text, and you're like, I put a Z because I meant to zoom in and zoom out. But yeah, make sure you're out of the text box when you click letters. Yes. Another things that you want to probably have on is the smart guides, because they are very helpful. You can get them from Choose, View, Grids and Guides. So you go here, create guides. You can create your own guides, or you can have automatic guides. You can have smart ones on. Basically, when you have the smart ones on, they works as a temporary snapped guide that appears when you create and move objects around. Sometimes they align object together automatically, and yeah, it's just very useful because you don't have to then align object yourself. It just happened to be, let's say I'm just going to create like a rectangle.
I don't know what I don't know what I would do without smart guys. Like, they saved my life so many times.
Exactly. Totally. Because when we do like two objects, see, when I go here, when I go just right under, does my guides appear and say, hey, you got it just behind it, and it's perfect. It's helping you to be so precise without the struggle to try to be precise. So up the smart guide. If you don't have them, you can create yourself some ones that are unique to yourself, or just use the ones that InDesign provides you, because it's all set up for you. So make sure you got the guides on. So the next thing, I'm going to take the photo into my InDesign file. If I click M, it's the tool, is a shortcut for a rectangle shape. So I'll put my rectangle shape there, and if I do Control D, is inserting the picture inside my oh, not my signature. I need to find, Mamma mia. So Control D is automatically inserting something that you will find from the researching tool. So the mine is here. I'm just going to import it. Oh, it failed. I knew this. I think that I need to get the screenshot. Yeah, because I airdrop it earlier. When you airdrop it, it's just a different.
That's what makes Adobe live streams authentic, right?
Exactly. We are working as we go.
You deal with everyone's struggles while they're designing something. But yeah, so right now you're importing not even the scanned version, you're importing the actual image, and I'm curious to see how we're going to transfer the vector.
Yeah, and all it takes is taking a photo on your phone, airdrop it to your computer. It doesn't need to be cleaned or clear, as long as you can see the letters. So you know, use your phone to do it quickly, and import it into your document, because it will help you as a guide. If you click A, this little hand appear, and it will select the inside content of our box. If you go up here, if you go up here, we got some tools that can help us changing the proportion of the image automatically for us. So if you look at this option here, is fill the frame proportionally and fit the content proportionally. So here is the first one is mostly for weight. The second one is mostly for height. So I will let my weight to just proportionally be fitting into my composition. So I do this, and then I'll do that. So yes, it's proportionally there. Then I am gonna lock it with Control L. So everything I do, everything I move, and everything I'm gonna create on top is not going to move the image.
Thanks.
So
yeah,
it's always going to be there. InDesign works with layers as well. Most of you know, as much as Illustrator and Photoshop. If you have a lot of elements to do, I would rather use layers. So you can have a layer for the type, a layer for the image, a layer for the colors, or whatever else. So you don't have to lock anything, and it locks it automatically for you. We're just gonna literally draw on top. So we're not gonna do that today. So zoom in, and the first thing I'm gonna do is try to be as precise as possible, because I need to kind of understand what's going on, right? So I'm just gonna put some guides at the bottom and at the top. And then every time I see some sort of repetition, if you see the A's have a little hole and they're all repeating, the M goes to a point all the time. So, you know, we want to make sure that this corner will be placed at the same space of this corner and this corner, and etc, etc. Sometimes you can create the letters and repeat them if you've got them doubles, and then you can just adjust them. But the first work to do is trying to have the skeleton done, even if it's very imprecise, and then just go over all the lines that you create, take the image out, and have a clear vision of what's going on. So first thing here, if I put a guide down, I can see that this is slanted. So it will be a choice of yours to have maybe the font slanted or not. When I work with slanted text, I just create my own lines. So let's say I grab the pen and I've got a line here that helps me visualizing how it's going to be like, and I make it red just so I can see it. Maybe just a tiny bit smaller. So if I create a double of this by clicking Option, Shift, and then you can go down and have it at the same place. So here we go. We got the top and the bottom of our letters. Then I want to make another one for the top of the A's.
Wow, very structured. I love this.
Yeah.
For joining us, just a reminder that we're turning this into a vector.
Yes.
We're gonna try to do that in such a short time. I know Raisa can do it. But yeah, looking forward to it. And we're using InDesign, and we're just now structuring and putting kind of like some kind of like
guides. Yeah, very DIY, just because we need to be quick. But so yeah, if you have a structure like this at first, you can make a skeleton that even if it's very imprecise, whenever you're done it, you can quickly go through it, and then you just go and edit everything at the end. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lock these again because I don't want them to move. And I'm going to go on a preview mode just so I can't see anything. Right, so we can start grabbing the pen. The pen is the main tool today, is our main friend. So I'm going to grab the pen, and it's shortcut P letter. You got this little pen coming up. Every time that you see these corners on InDesign, it means that there's some more tools there. And if you hold and click and then keep it on hold, you can choose between different tools. I just need the normal pen tool for now, but I'm going to explain you what the other ones are in a second. So just so you know, every time that you see this little corner, hold it and click on the corner, and then you can see other things coming up. Okay, so I am gonna start designing. So I am gonna start using the pen. I'm gonna try to put out different colors just so it doesn't clash. And as we go, I want to show you that when you go from a point to the other, InDesign is gonna make the line straight. Another example of how to make curves. So if I go from a side, let me just get out of the composition. If you go from a side to the other, InDesign will make it straight. If you go, if you go from side to side and you just drag this white point, it's going to create another 2 points. They're going to help you creating a curve. So let's say that I just leave it like that. I can always go back. If I have, if I click on it, I can always go back and use this little point or this little point here to then drag and make my curve the way I want to. When I was saying that there's other tools on the pen, when you click the corner, there is the add uncut point tool here, where you can add another point. Let's say in this curve, I want to add a point here in the middle of it. That creates that split the composition in two, the line in two. So then I can work on one curve here and one curve there. So we have two curves now. So if I drag this side, you can see it better now that I drag the curves. So I couldn't do this before. I can do it now because I've got this point here in the middle. So these are all very useful tools to keep in mind. As much as we can use these tools to add a point, we can also use the one that delay to point if we have too many. So just keep that in mind. It's not so useful when you don't have something that you need it for, but keep it in mind that you can do it along the way. So literally see how easy it is with a composition behind you, because I can do this in like a second. Look, I'm already halfway through my M.
I love this. You can also get so playful with this tool. It's
Totally. Sometimes when you hold the shift while you're trying to do the, see if I hold the shift, it's gonna give me multiple of 45 degrees. So it's gonna give you like a perfect curve. So holding the shift when you go around very nice curves is also like a top tip, because then if I do the same up here, it's gonna just look really nice. Another thing that I want to show you, why, you know, you can choose the way that the points and the line looks to you. See that this corner looks very sharp at the moment. If you select the composition and you go on stroke, you can decide how to make your stroke look like. So if I go onto this point, it can be rounded. If I go onto this one, is a projecting cup. So I'm just going to show you. Right now is a butt cup. Right now, is it selected? I know I need to do it from the joint, because this is a joint, obviously. So now it's rounded. See the difference between sharp and rounded. And this one just kind of capped it. The same thing can also be applied to the aligning. So you see, you can just have fun around this, because you can always have, what I say is just have fun with things and tools, because you can always go back with Ctrl-Z, and Ctrl-Z always save our lives. So why not? So what I think what I've used for this one was a whole rounded look, because it was more cozy for the type of font we wanted to create. So there you go.
So many options to explore, and even Kelvin here on the chat is saying that this lettering is so satisfactory. So
thank you
for all the tips. Do you think we will be showcasing the final vector? Are we on time to finalize the album cover? Just
kind of... for sure. I mean, this was just me trying to start, but I put the vector in here. So if I grab this vector, and I just so I just copy it and paste it. I'm gonna do another page, and I paste it there. Oh, it's really big. So I just make it smaller. So there you go.
From the chat, so why do you decide to use InDesign rather than Illustrator to work on the type? But yes, definitely we are going to be working on the layout on InDesign, but curious to see your particular reason for that.
My reason is because I know InDesign better, so I know the shortcuts, but not because there is a difference between Illustrator and InDesign. The two programs are quite the same at the moment, and they're amazing because they are pushing each other into like new horizons. It feels that InDesign have learned a lot from the way that Illustrator used to treat file and vice versa. So I feel that is a matter of how much you know about a program and how much quicker you can go by knowing the shortcuts. Every time I go on Illustrator, because I'm a little bit more old school, so I started on InDesign, and I know all the shortcuts. I'm like, "Du-du-du-du-du-du-du-du." And when I go on Illustrator, a few are different. So it takes me a little while to remember which shortcuts Illustrator has. But that's literally my only reason, not because you can't do this on Illustrator or on other. Photoshop is becoming closer and closer to what you could do. So there isn't much flexibility on the vector as much as then it would be amazing for colors and texture. So I always keep Photoshop at the end so I can just like work so much on the colors and give some sort of grainy feel or a printed feel or any other patterns you can work with, you know.
There you go, Anika. If you do want to use Illustrator, you can still like export your design and import it to InDesign. So yeah, great. So now we have the final vector
type. So just to see, sometimes if you feel very sharp about what you've been doing, let me just finish this quickly. It would be the last top tip I've got. If you feel that your composition is very sharp, you can always put, because the stroke has got so many settings. Let's say that this composition was just filled. So I'm going to show you how it looks when you keep everything away from it. Let me just put it in black so it's not so flashy. So let's say this is my first letter and it looks a little bit too sharp. Just by putting a bit of stroke on top and increase the points, if you go for the rounded bit, it already looks better. So sometimes consider the stroke as a play on your favor if you want to give a different look to the composition. But see, by working on some sketches previously, this is already a very nice M to me, you know, and it was very easy to do it. And then obviously you could go and edit each curve because they're all there. Another thing to keep in mind is, you know, if you don't know how many curves you can use around a composition, just put a couple, just so then you have more points to work with. It might take a little bit more, but then it might be more precise in the end if you feel like you don't really know. Okay, so let's go back to what we had, because obviously we're running out of time. Sorry. It's quite challenging to do this, but I can do it. Yes, so I'm gonna grab a picture from the presentation. So this is the way that then it kind of became. Let me put another pin. So it became something like that, right? So we did a couple of fonts for this project, and one font was on top of this, and another font was this one that you can find on the patch. So literally then we worked on the pictures, and there was another photographer that did that. The way that we work on this one is I wasn't really involved on the layout because we actually printed this belt that I showed you earlier, and the photographer was able to take a picture with the final product. So that's what I mean with timeline. You know, sometimes if you have time and you stress about having more time to research, some ideas like this come your way, and if you have times, you can you can produce them, and a lot of different ideas. You don't stop your vision to be like, oh, we don't have any time to do this, we have to just do it digitally. So these were all printed, but you know, if we look at the PDF that we had earlier, and so let me just find, we had a page with a lot of different covers that I did this year. You know, then you put your type onto the layout, and then you start just playing around with things. Again, it can be done on Illustrator as much as Photoshop or InDesign. Every designer seems to have their own favorite one. So I don't feel like I should dictate on the program. My favorite one is InDesign. But yeah, once I've got the type, it seems that everything else is coming around, is just been added around it. Something to keep in mind if a release is digital, sometimes it's very small on Spotify, so try to make something that grab your attention and keep and take all the space. You know, this shattered face yellow one, you got the types that takes from the top to the bottom, and it's very easy to read and it's very striking. For the Mamma Mia here, obviously the type is a bit smaller, but we use the Mamma Mia type for a lot of different things across printing and assets like posters and stuff. So try to keep that in mind, that when it's digital, it's not always visible. So try to make something that take up all the space and the layout is very striking, maybe less details, but more strong on the elements that you choose to work with. So yeah, these are my top tips for today. I think otherwise I will run out of time. Sorry.
Really good, really good. We just got one more question from
Of course, thank you.
Here. Lina's asking how Lydia, sorry Lydia, I got your name wrong. How do you know that the final design is the final design? Like, are you always satisfied with it? And like, do you have any additional tips on that one? I know that, you know, as designers we struggle and we tend to go back to it and make changes. So what's your take on that one?
I think I was very insecure the first couple of years that I was working with mostly, like, you know, record sleeves, because they were my first ones. So I was trying to reach out to designer friends of mine, or even not designer, musicians, and be like, what do you think of this? Maybe give them a couple of options of colors, and or even the band, you know, if you want to give them a couple of proposals, because you're torn between different ideas, the more the better, you know. I will always put the first one as the one that you like the best. But then within the time now, I developed a little bit of an eye, and it's just coming with experience, more confidence, I guess. At first I was like scared to send an email with the final product, but yeah, a little bit more experience and bands that always been nice to me, you know, you build up more confidence and you just go for it. Sometimes being under pressure of the timeline helps, because it's like, okay, hands off, you're done. We need to send it today. And you know, sometimes what helped me through the timeline sometimes is sometimes it's good to keep something a bit more rough and more analog, because maybe meant to be like that. We don't want to lose the spontaneity of a composition as well. So it can go both ends, you know. Something that is not quite precise or quite final can be also beautiful. So yeah, don't push yourself too hard.
That's like really nice, the perfect thing to say before ending the stream. Thank you so much, Raisa, for all the tips, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been such an amazing and you know, I learned so much from the stream today, and I can't use InDesign myself and try all these tools, and yeah, thank you, Raisa. Do remember that we do have our Discord channel, so if you have any questions or any kind of like, if you are looking for tips or anything, do keep the conversation going and join us on our Discord channel. The link, you can find it here. Tim will be sharing it now in the chat, and you can find it also in the description of the stream. And tomorrow we're still not done yet, because we have an amazing stream with Tony Harmer and Maddie. They will be talking about character animator, which is quite rare and special. So get ready for this one, a full 90 minutes of magic and cool tricks and fun. So don't forget our Adobe Live schedule. We're live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 12 p.m. UK time. Have a lovely week and see you soon, Raisa. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me. Have a lovely week. Bye-bye.